Welcome to More Than a Muse podcast. My name is Sadie.
I'm Stauney, and happy Tuesday.
Happy that you are here, and we're happy to
Yes.
be here too. It is summertime, which means that life feels crazy and people are traveling, but we're back to learn about another woman artist, likely place for us to be.
We are happy to be here and happy to talk about things happening. When we're recording this, there's a Taylor Swift announcement coming out tonight. So obviously
True.
all of you in the future listening will know what it is, and we will too, but that's very exciting.
Yes, there is the countdown on her page, and apparently she'll be, I guess we don't know for sure, but it seems like she'll be on the Kelsey Brothers podcast on Wednesday.
I'd have to assume, right? Like,
if it ends up being another person, I feel really bad for that person because whoever it is, it'll be a major disappointment. So I feel like it has to be Taylor Swift.
I would assume so.
I don't want to talk too much about it because, like you said, obviously by the time this episode comes out, we will all know what the countdown on her website is. But makes for an exciting time. I'm glad that we're recording right now because it helps the time pass.
Yes.
In between
yeah, time will go by quicker, and then we will have the announcement tomorrow, and that'll be great.
Yeah. Well, anything else that you've been, like, art-wise, you've been consuming, TV shows, anything that you've been loving lately?
K-pop Demon Hunters has been stuck in my head for 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
It hit #1 on Billboard today in America.
Yeah, I'm not shocked.
Biggest song in the country
killed
right
it.
Yeah, it kind of popped off. And it's crazy that it is I think the best-selling K-pop song in America ever. Crazy it's not a real band,
that makes me feel kind of bad for all the K-pop stars that are like, we've been grinding for years.
So long.
But it could make K-pop more popular.
I think so.
Sure.
And it's a great song. So it's a great movie too.
It is a great movie. I've heard they've already renewed it for a sequel or like 2 sequels.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's some talk about a live action, which I'm like, do we need that?
We don't need a live action. The animation is too good.
I know. They did great on the animation. So I don't really know what the live action would do differently, but
I don't either. Also today, speaking of chart toppers, Chapel Roams the Subway debuted at #3. I personally absolutely adore the recorded version of that song. I think it's absolutely stunning. It's still on repeat. So
I'm very proud
of her. Me too.
And happy with the TikTok trend that's going with it too. Have you seen that?
I don't think so.
It's just the part where it's like, she's got away, she got away.
Yeah.
And then people are talking about like the women who got away and like kind of celebrating that. And so there's been like movie clips or like people being like happy that I'm the one that got away.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I do need to check that out then.
Yeah. So that's fun. And I love a TikTok trend. I feel like it always makes the songs chart higher and higher and higher.
And we always want the best for our girl Chapel, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else to talk about, or should we just jump into who we're learning about?
I don't think there's anything else on my end. It has been a very slow, very lazy summer, and yet I feel like I'm not getting anything done.
Yeah, that seems so fair. I have been in the midst of starting a new job in the last couple months, and then I went home to visit family, meet my new baby niece. So yeah, things have been busy, but I feel like I'm like finally starting to settle into my new routine.
Oh, that's
kind
good.
of. So, we're figuring it all out as we go, of course.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was going to say, I know episodes have been kind of hit or miss over the summer. It's just been, a period of growth and a little bit of strain as we refigure things out. This is our 4th year doing this? 5th year? 5th year, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're killing it.
So it's kind of one of those things, you have to refigure things out as times of seasons of life change. But yeah, we're happy you're all here.
But we always make it back to learn more about forgotten women artists.
Definitely. And that's what we're doing today. Amrita Sher-Gil, who is considered a pioneer of Indian art. And she was a part of the New York Times Overlooked No More obituary series, which
I love that series.
If you don't know what it is, they talk about it on their website, saying basically that they realized that most people that have gotten obituaries in the New York Times were prominent white men of the past. And so they like to find people who may not have received an obituary in the New York Times when they passed away, regardless of how prominent they were, and give them a postpartum obituary in the New York Times. It's a really cool project. And
yeah.
I
feel like we find people often there, or at least when we find people, we can find their obituary that was written a little bit later.
Yes, and it makes it a little bit easier to find some information on some people because they do some of the work for us. I will say this is probably going to be a shorter episode because she does not have a lot about her regardless of how prominent she was, which is always a little frustrating because I'm like, man, if I had more time, you know, like I could probably find more information, but if it's not readily there, it's just not possible for an episode. So this is definitely just a kicking off point if you want to dive deeper into her. But she was a Hungarian Indian painter, often called one of the greatest avant-garde women artists of the early 20th century and a pioneer in modern Indian art. And she traveled throughout her life to various countries, including Turkey, France, and India, deriving heavily from pre-colonial Indian art styles as well as contemporary culture. She's considered a very important painter of 20th century India, whose legacy stands on a level of that with the pioneers from the Bengal Renaissance, and is also an avid reader and pianist. Her paintings are among the most expensive by Indian woman painters today, although few acknowledged her work when she was alive. So,
wow.
But she is also sometimes called the Indian Frida Kahlo. Just some parallels, and because of Frida Kahlo, we have an episode on her. But she was very prominent in bringing Mexican folk culture into like the mainstream in her paintings. And in similar ways, Amrita did that with Indian folk culture. So very cool. She was born January of 1913 in Budapest, which was a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the time. Her parents were very prominent, which I feel like we've talked about this. It's easier for girls who had very well educated and well-respected parents to receive more diverse education at the time. When your family's not starving, you're allowed to paint all day. Her father was an aristocrat and a scholar in Sanskrit and Persian, and her mother was actually a Hungarian Jewish opera singer.
Whoa, that's cool.
And pretty well known from what I heard. Her name was Marie Antoinette Gottsman, I'm assuming named after the French queen.
Yes.
And then her parents met in 1912 while Marie Antoinette was visiting Lahore. Her mother came to India as a companion of Princess Bomba Sutherland, the granddaughter of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. And they ended up meeting and getting married. And then Sher-Gil was the eldest of two daughters. Her younger sister was Indira Sundaram, who actually ended up having a son who was a fairly well-known contemporary artist, Vivian Sundaram. So lots of prominent people in their family. The family was obliged to remain in Budapest until after the First World War. Her uncle was also very well known. He was an Indologist of Irvin Bakhte, and he noticed her artistic talents during his visit to Shimla in 1926 and became a very big advocate of her pursuing art. He guided her by critiquing her work, provided her with an academic foundation to build upon, and when she was a young girl, she would paint the servants in the house and get them to model for her. And the memories of these models from her young house and her young family eventually were a catalyst for her returning to India later in her life. Her family faced some financial problems in Hungary. In 1921, her family moved to Summerhill, Shimla, India, and Sher-Gil soon began learning piano and violin. By age 9, she, with her younger sister Indira, was giving concerts and acting in plays at Shimla's Gaiety Theatre at Mall Road, Shimla. Though she'd already been painting since the age of 5. Gosh.
But of course, yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine? She started studying painting formally at the age of 8. She received formal lessons in art from Major Whitmarsh, who was later replaced by Hall Bevan Petman. And in Shimla, Sher-Gil lived a relatively privileged lifestyle. She did end up getting expelled from her Catholic school as a child for declaring herself an atheist, however.
Wow.
Which is a very bold statement for a little child, but
that's what I was just thinking. I love that even as a child, she was like, nope.
Yeah, And apparently that gets you expelled, which is kind of interesting. Like, but she's a kid. But
yeah, no sympathy, no takebacks.
Nope, get out of here. In 1923, she came to know an Italian sculptor who was living in Shimla at the time. And in 1924, when he returned to Italy, she moved there as well with her sister and got enrolled in Santa Annunziata, which was an art school in Florence. So she left to Italy with the sculptor that she met and enrolled at Santa Annunziata, which was an art school in Florence. And she didn't stay very long, ended up returning to India in 1924, but it was there that she was exposed to the works of Italian masters, which always seems to help people's arts education go on a little bit faster.
Yeah.
At 16, she sailed to Europe with her mother to train as a painter in Paris, first as the Académie de la Grande Chamourie, and then later at the Beaux Arts School. She drew inspiration from European painters like Cézanne, Van Gogh, Magdaleni, while working under the influence of her teacher and through the company of artist friends and lovers like Slavitsky. While in Paris, she's said to have painted with conviction and maturity rarely seen in a 16-year-old, which once again just reminds us how young she is when she's doing all of this. In 1931, she was briefly engaged to Yusuf Ali Khan, but rumors spread that she was also having an affair with her first cousin and later her husband, Victor Egan. And her letters also at the time reveal some same-sex affairs. So I'm assuming she was either bisexual or a lesbian in the past who had to date and marry men.
Was married to a man. Yeah. We'll never know, I guess.
Nope. In her early paintings show a lot of Western modes of painting, specifically the post-impressionist style, which was very popular at the time in Europe, so that makes sense based on her education. She practiced a lot in bohemian circles of Paris in early 1930s, and her 1932 oil painting Young Girls came as a breakthrough to her, winning accolades including a gold medal and election as an associate of the Grand Salon in Paris. She was the youngest ever member and the only Asian to have received this recognition. And that's in 1933. Post-impressionist also is like Van Gogh, Monet, Marie Cassatt, Ruth Morissette. So
cool.
If that helps.
That does help, actually. Yeah. I still am no expert on that after all of this time.
It's okay. There's 5 million different styles and yeah. Her work during this time included a number of self-portraits, as well as her life in Paris, nude studies, still life studies, and portraits of friends and fellow students. The National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi describes the self-portraits she made while in Paris as capturing the artist in her many moods, somber, pensive, and joyous, while revealing a narcissistic streak in her personality. Which, I mean, if you only have yourself to paint and you're painting that many portraits of yourself, is it narcissistic or are you just very into practicing?
You know, that's a great question and a great point.
Because I wonder that a lot with Frida Kahlo, too. They're like, she was a narcissist because she painted all these paintings of herself. And it's like, well, if you don't have anyone else to paint.
What is a girl to do?
What is a girl to do?
Paint yourself. Also, I feel like it's like pretty common for artists to paint portraits of themselves. Is it not? Or is it?
No, it's really common. Van Gogh had like a ton of himself.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, it's a very common thing. And I don't think anyone's ever called Van Gogh a narcissist. That man had low self-worth.
I was going to say, they said other things, though. So,
that poor man.
Yeah, that poor man.
He's one I do feel a lot of pity for. Oh, yeah. So I don't know what makes them wonder if she was a narcissist or not beyond the self-portraits. Weigh in. Let us know what you think.
Why do you think? I also do wonder, though, like, I feel like to be an artist and to pursue your art does require a certain kind of narcissism, or like at least a level of self-grandiose, because like at your core, you do have to think, okay, like what I'm producing matters so much that other people should like it too. And I think
Yeah.
that some artists will claim like, no, I just like want to help people through my art. Like they'll say that it's other things, but like at the root, you're sharing your art because you think it's good enough to share and you think that other people will like it. And that's not a bad thing, obviously. But I do feel like I said, it's kind of inherently a form of narcissism.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
would agree. I think, yeah, you have to have some level of like pride in what you're
Totally.
accomplishing. Yeah.
And maybe just the fact that you have to have some kind of pride makes it easy for some people to be a little obsessed with themselves when they're artists. That's not necessarily even a bad thing, you know?
No. Mm-mm. Yeah, I think it's definitely seen by a lot of art forms too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a little bit of levels of, like you said, this is important. What I'm doing
Yeah.
matters.
And
People
other
should pay
people should
attention to what I'm
care.
creating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's a good point. When she was in Paris, one of her professors said that judging by the richness of her coloring, she was not in her element in the West, and that her artistic personality would try and find its true atmosphere in the East. So in 1933, she began to be haunted by an intense longing to return to India, feeling in some strange way that there lay her destiny as a painter. So she did. She returned to India at the end of 1934 and met the English journalist Malcolm Mutteridge, then working as an assistant editor and lead writer for the Calcutta Statesman. Both Mutteridge and Sher-Gil stayed at the family home at Summerhill, Shimla, and a short, intense affair took place where she painted a casual portrait of her new lover, the painting now with the National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi. There's a lot of her art in the National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi, which is good. I'm glad that it's in India. By September of 1935, Amrita saw Mutteridge off as he traveled back to England for new employment. She left herself to travel in 1936 at the behest of art collector and critic Carl, who encouraged her to pursue her passion for discovering her Indian roots. In India, she began a quest for the rediscovery of the traditions of Indian art, which was to continue until her death. She was greatly impressed and influenced by the Mughal and Pahari schools of painting and the cave paintings in Ajanta. She continued to tour South India, produced her South Indian trilogy of paintings, and made a visit to the Ajanta caves, and then continued to make a conscious attempt to return to classical Indian art. These paintings revealed her passionate sense of color, her empathy for her Indian subjects who were often depicted in their poverty and despair, and by now the transformation in her work was complete. She had found her artistic mission, which was, according to her, to express the life of the Indian people through her canvas. While in Sahara, Sher-Gil wrote to a friend, "I can only paint in India. Europe belongs to Picasso, Matisse, Braque. India belongs only to me." Her stay in India marks the beginning of a new phase in her artistic development, one that was distinct from the European phase of interwar years, where her work showed an engagement with the works of Hungarian painters. And it's at this time she married her first cousin when she was 25.
As one does.
Yep. She also had some moments of getting abortions, either before their marriage and after. It doesn't share personal reasons, but he did help her obtain abortions on at least 2 occasions before their marriage. So I think they're thinking that it was probably his doing that she was pregnant. So most likely we're having an affair before they were married. She moved with him to India to stay at her paternal family home in Sahara. Thus began her second phase of painting, rivals that of the Bengal School of Art. The Calcutta group of artists, which transformed the Indian art scene, was to start only in 1943, and the Progressive Artist Group lay further ahead in 1948, which meant that her art was strongly influenced by the paintings of 2 Tagoras, who were pioneers of the Bengal School of Painting. Her portraits of women resemble works by Rabindranath, while the use of chiaroscuro and bright colors reflect the influence of Rabindranath. You guys, look up these names if you're looking for accurate pronunciations, because wow,
We're doing our best.
Sometimes I wish I had taken more language classes, because I feel like it would have been helpful in this line of work that we have found ourselves in. But
Yeah, true.
Alas, it was not required for my arts degree. So during her stay there, she painted the village scene in The Ladies' Enclosure and Siesta, which all portray the leisurely rhythms of life in rural India. Siesta and In the Ladies' Enclosure reflect her experimentation with a miniature school of painting, while the village scene reflects influences of the Pahari school of painting. Although acclaimed by art critics, Sher-Gil's paintings found few buyers. She traveled across to India with her paintings, but they returned them and often chose Raja Ravi Varma's paintings over hers. So lots of rejection from her own country, even though she was trying. Although from a family that was closely tied to the British Raj, Sher-Gil was a Congress sympathizer, so she was attracted to the poor, distressed, and deprived, and her paintings of Indian villagers and women were a meditative reflection of their condition. She was also attracted to Gandhi's philosophy and lifestyle, and Nehru was charmed by her beauty and talent when he went to Gorakhpur and visited her in Sarara. Her paintings were at one stage even considered for use in the Congress propaganda for village reconstruction.
Wow.
I mean, that's something. They're like, hey, we'll use you for this. Despite befriending Nehru, she never drew his portrait, supposedly because she thought he was too good looking. And he attended her exhibition held in New Delhi in February of 1937. They also exchanged letters for a short time, but those letters were burned by her parents when she was away getting married in Budapest. That is what parents should be doing. Burn the letters.
Yep, I agree.
If you're away getting married in Budapest and you have a lover's letters stuck at home, your parents definitely should be burning them.
They had her back.
In September of 1941, Egan and Sher-Gil, that's her husband and first cousin, moved to Lahore, then in undivided India, and a major cultural and artistic center. She lived and painted there, and where her studio was at the top floor of a townhouse she inhabited. She was known for many of her affairs, obviously. We've mentioned quite a few of them already, with both men and women, and so she painted many of the latter. Her work, Two Women, is thought to be a painting of herself and her lover, Marie-Louise, and some of her other later works include Tahitian, Red Brick House, Hill Scene, and The Bride, among others. Her last work was left unfinished just prior to her death in December of 1941. And she died at age 28, which...
Oh, wow.
Is so young, and I think partially
that's our age. Oh my gosh.
Why we don't have enough about her because of all of this. Like 28 is just too young to pass away. It was actually just days before the opening of her first major solo show in Lahore. She became really, really ill and slipped into a coma. And later died around midnight on the 5th of December of 1941, leaving behind a large volume of work. And they never really found out the reason for her death.
Wow, that's so scary.
Yeah, they think maybe it would have been like a failed abortion and then some swelling of the abdomen, which maybe could have been some possible causes for her death. However, her mother accused her husband, who was a doctor, of having murdered her. And I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe he got too jealous.
Huh.
And he was a doctor, so...
I guess if there's like no obvious thing. Weird. There's a mystery.
So the day after her death, Britain actually declared war on Hungary, and then Egan, her husband, was interned as an enemy alien, and so I think he had to leave the country.
Oh, wow.
And then she was cremated in December 7th, 1941 in Lahore. Kind of crazy. Her life was cut so short.
Yeah, how tragic.
Yeah, just, and like right before her debut solo show, right when things were picking up. But her work has gone on to influence generations of Indian artists, from Raza and Singh. Her depiction of the plight of women made her art a beacon for women both in India and abroad. The government of India declared her works as national art treasures, and most of them, like I mentioned, are housed in the National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi. Some of her paintings also hang at the Lahore Museum. A postage stamp depicting her painting Hill Women was released by the India Post, and the Amrita Sher-Gil Marg is a road in Luton's Delhi that's named after her. Sher-Gil was also able to prove to Western societies that Indians were able to make fine art, which is ridiculous that that's something that you have to prove.
Yeah, absolutely.
But her work is deemed to be so important to Indian culture that when it's sold in India, the Indian government has stipulated that the art must stay in the country.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Fewer than 10 of her works have been sold globally. In 2006, her painting Village Scenes sold for 6.9 crores, which I don't know what that is in like conversion rate, but at an auction in New Delhi, which was at the time the highest amount ever paid for a painting in India. They named the Indian Cultural Center in Budapest after her. Contemporary artists in India have recreated and reinterpreted her works. There is a documentary film about the artist that won the National Film Award for Best Non-Feature Film in 1969. So I think it is in Hindi because it is by the Government of India's Films Division. It did not automatically pop up when I Googled her. So if you find it and it's in English, let me know.
Yeah.
She also is the inspiration behind the Urdu play Tumhari Amrita. And UNESCO in 2013 announced that the 100th anniversary of Sher-Gil's birth was the International Year of Amrita Sher-Gil. So she got a whole year in 2013. She's inspired a lot of like novels, books. Her work's been featured in a lot of different things. Google gave her a Google Doodle for her 103rd birthday.
Google Doodle is back again.
Long may the Google Doodle reign.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Times published her belated obituary. That year at Sotheby's auction in Mumbai, her painting The Little Girl in Blue was sold at auction for a record-breaking 18.69 crores. Wow. And it's a portrait of her cousin Babbitt, a resident of Shimla, who was painted when the subject was only 8 years old. And her work continues to sell for a lot. Her portrait of Denise was put up for auction by Christie's for an estimated value of $2.8 million.
Whoa.
Yep. And her painting The Storyteller fetched $7.4 million at a recent auction, setting a record for the highest price achieved by an Indian artist. That's her.
That's
so
crazy.
Her work is selling for a lot now, and it's very and I kind of love that even though she didn't get a lot of recognition for it in the country of India at the time, like they won't let her work leave the country. It's a part of like their museums and cultural heritage there, and like definitely very revered and respected. So
yeah, I was gonna say it's like nice when we find a niche unknown artist, but like only unknown to us, you know, and that the art actually is being appreciated elsewhere in the world. It just maybe hasn't, you know, we're just unfamiliar with it. So it's nice to hear that artists are getting the credit that they deserve. But it's so tragic that her life was cut so short. And yeah, and I really hope there wasn't.
It probably was though, right? Like her husband probably murdered her.
Yeah, I guess. Like, what would he have done? I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's horrible.
I mean, they said swelling of the abdomen, but I'm like, that could even be like a poison reaction, couldn't it? Like,
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, so tragic. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I guess at the very least, it's very beautiful that her home country is obviously honoring her work still. And I can't wait to look them up and just look through them all.
Yes. Yeah, there's a reminder. Look at the artwork and you can definitely read about more of it too. The New York Times obituary dived into some of the individual paintings, which I didn't do because
it's hard when we can't see it. Yeah.
But I will be posting them on the Instagram. So that is a reminder to come and follow us at More Than Amused Podcast on Instagram. We're also on TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah. You can come watch us talk on YouTube, which is fun. Stauney has a curtain up. And next time, I too will have a curtain up. And it's going to be really cute.
Let us know how you feel about the curtain. We're trying, you know, to step it up a little bit over here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And we will be back next week. We will be back next week with an episode.
We will. No, we'll be back. And also, quick reminder, we're both wearing merch, so I feel like I have to call it out.
Of course.
Our merch for the Hysterical Society is still on sale on our website, and there's some on TikTok Shop as well. It's not too late to go and grab it. And I was thinking about it today. I don't know how long it's been since we've mentioned what hysterical means.
True. Would you like to give a definition?
Yes. Hysterical is made up. It's
yes.
It was this word that they came up with to describe women when they got angry or frantic or anything because they didn't have a true definition for the emotion of it. They thought that it was outside the realm of what women should be able to feel and express. So they called them hysterical, and it became an official medical diagnosis during the 50s, maybe even earlier than that.
No, I think it was like the 1800s.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then just continued on and became very popularized. But they would just prescribe them random things that made no sense and try to treat their hysteria. And so we're re-owning it. We're embracing the word.
Yes.
We're hysterical feminists. We're part of the National Women's Hysterical Society.
And we are collectively losing our minds.
Yes, you can be as mad and angry as you want because we can be hysterical.
Absolutely.
So go check all of those out.
Yes, it's very cute. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.